Okay, welcome everybody to the review of The First Darkness by Dr. Mitchell Gibson. We're going to review chapters 7 through 12 today, even though we read chapters 7 to 13. Yesterday I had an opportunity to go and watch Thor, The Dark World. It was a very, very good movie. I would encourage anybody who is into metaphysics or into Marvel comics and just like good entertainment to watch that. It kind of reminds me of today's discussion when we go deeper into the first darkness. Okay, it's going to get a little deep today because we enter into the mechanics of reincarnation, and we talk a little bit about the celestial worlds, angel sickness, potential death, and the Creator. So I have to admit this one is a little challenging.
Yeah.
So let's get started. We pick up around chapters 7 and 8 where the true identity of the old man and his relationship to Melvina is revealed. Mm-hmm. And something begins to take place as she comes back, and she is very perturbed by the conversation she's had with the old man, and she tells her sister, though they're in the intermediate state, in some form of death state, that they need to get out of there because this guy is weird and she doesn't like his intentions toward her younger sister Salvina. Right. And so Salvina gives her a broth. It kind of make her woozy. Then eventually her and the old man go on a journey. You may want to pick up from there and tell us what happened. They go into the woods.
Well, yeah, okay. They not necessarily a journey. But just took a couple of steps. Look, I was trying to see where you went. So after Melvina drinks the broth, then it's like she's starting to feel pains and this fuzziness and dizziness, and he starts to explain to her that the only way that she can gather souls from him, human souls, is to go into the human world. And the only way she can go into the human world is by being born again as a human.
Right. Now she's already has lived one life, and she can remember. Mm-hmm. And there she's in this hut with the old man and her sister Salvina, and now she is beginning to go through the birth pains of transitioning into another life form, into not another life form, but into another life.
Right.
And so now I thought that was very interesting because it raises the question about, the whole issue of reincarnation. Mm-hmm. So let's just talk about that for a minute. How do many of you feel about the concept of reincarnation? What are your thoughts about that? Don't all speak at the same time. We'll start with you, Shelley. What are your thoughts about that?
Okay. My thoughts about reincarnation, I think it's a beautiful concept. I think it's an awesome concept that, just the thought of living out these multiple existences, the idea that you still have a certain amount of time for your soul to grow and get things right. And something that was brought up later on in the book is the idea that as your soul evolves from one lifetime to the next, you take those things that were previously learned with you.
Okay.
And it just kind of adds on to it. So it's not like you go into the next life and then you got to start over fresh from scratch if you didn't hit, like in video games, like if you don't make it to the castle at the end of the game, last thing I probably played was Super Mario Brothers or something, but if you don't make it to the castle at the end, you have to go start over from the beginning. But it's your intelligence and your soul intelligence is adding on from lifetime to lifetime
without necessarily believing in the concept. Have any of you ever had the idea that you've been here before? Have you ever wondered whether or not the people that you are with now, that you have journeyed before? Right. Just had the thought or even the feeling that somebody else, like I know you, or so like there's something that is connecting us.
Right. Yes. I have. I know I've had that feeling, and I also have had it about others. We say stuff like that baby seemed like he got an old soul, or that child seems to have an old soul. So we throw references out about it all the time.
Yes, we do.
And we just kind of just say that stuff and then don't really think about what are we really saying at a deeper level. That reincarnation or coming back is a very, very possible thing.
Okay. It's like sometimes you have unfinished business.
Right.
Okay.
I think that's a good point that Juan brought up. Is like people kind of ride the fence with things that they say and then the beliefs they have, because if you feel like an infant, a small child has an old soul, well, how is that possible if they were just born a year or two ago? So what do you mean that they have an old soul? Or if you say they've been here before, yet you believe that, there are certain people who don't believe in reincarnation, who believe that when you die, then your soul goes
to heaven,
or hell, and and that's it. Your life is over, on this plane.
Yeah. And one of the things I found interesting is that Malvina, in her previous life, was, and in this in-between stage of life, she's a woman. She's a female.
Right.
But as she was, as she was walking and talking with the old man, she was born into her next life as a little boy.
Right.
So that shows you, at least what Dr. Gibson trying to say to you, is that you can be a male in one lifetime and you can come back as a female, or vice versa, in the next lifetime. In other words, your sexual identity is not consistent through lifetime after lifetime.
Right.
Yeah. But what is also very unique about this story is that she is reborn into another lifetime with a specific purpose. She has what is called an assignment, which is that's mentioned in the book, that she has an assignment. And her assignment is what? What is her soul incarnating or reincarnating for? What purpose?
To bring souls, to gather the souls.
That's right. She's here to gather souls. And what you find interesting is that she's gathering souls in a violent way.
The way it's going about.
Right.
Now to me that made me think about the whole idea about, it makes you really look at, you look at people and say, well, why did that kid do what he's done? What is really strange and unique about this man, that he goes into this place and he just kills people, just like in the story Gerald Evans. He catches his father having an affair. Sees his father having an affair. His father then turns around, gives him this knife, this ancient knife. You want to talk about that, Shelley?
Right. So we're talking about the young boy that Melvina was reincarnated as, Gerard.
Oh, I said Gerald.
That's Dr. Gibson's friend and the police officer.
Oh, Gerald.
That's how you got the name confused. But Gerard. So he's reincarnated as Gerard, and Gerard has remembered these things, from his previous life. That was, I think, was an important point. But he's, gone and he's followed his father because he heard his father telling his mother, I love you, I'm not going to cheat on you or anything like that. And he doesn't trust his father. Follows him, sees his father having an affair, goes back. His father realizes that he was there and has seen him. So he embraces him, take him, come on, let's go fishing, boy. They go, and he gives him a gift of this knife that when he gives him this antique jewel-encrusted knife, Gerard recognizes it and says, he feels a connection to it. Right. It's like he's seen it before. That knife was the knife that Melvina slit her sister's throat with.
Right. And I thought that's very strange because where are the memories of your past life stored? See, the question, one of the difficulties with talking about past lives or reincarnation is that you really don't have a memory of them. Right. Now, when she was being born, we go back to the fact that when she was being born as the boy, though she was in a little boy's body, she was trying to scream and tell her new parents, what was going on, but it was coming out like baby talk.
Right.
I say that because I have a thing on my Facebook page, I don't know if you guys have seen it, where these two little baby boys, like 2 years old, are actually having a conversation with one another. I don't know if you go on my Facebook, you'll see it, and it makes you think that they're just really having an interaction with one another, and they're using baby talk, but like they both understand each other. But let you know that the point of that is this: what Dr. Gibson is trying to say to us is that there's a period of time when you come from, provided that you understand or believe in reincarnation, there's a period of time when you are first born up until when you're about 5 years old, that your memory of the previous life is more accessible. But as you get older, you start to forget, and it gets submerged deeper into your subconscious.
Right.
So but there are ways to retrieve the memory. But that's what's important. But notice that, like Shelley was saying, is that he had this memory of this knife. This knife, somebody triggered something within him. Yeah. And even when he saw his father having sex with this other woman,
right,
it was reminding him of
when his sister was being raped by the men in the Coliseum.
Right. He had a feeling.
Yeah.
So
a lot of our, nightmares and dreams as children are oftentimes reflections that are filtering through our mind in our dream life of maybe some tragedy or maybe some incident in a previous life.
Right. And see, that's the thing about in this life where he could, in the life as Melvina, he didn't remember, or Melvina didn't remember being a gatherer, a soul gatherer. But in this life, he has all these nightmares that don't let him sleep at night about the old man and Salva and all of that kind of stuff that, that keeps following him.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that I forgot to mention as we were going through the book is the preparation that Dr. Gibson made in preparing for his assignment in terms of preparing Patricia of her spiritual gifts. And you remember he went to meet the Creator.
Right.
Anybody want to say anything about that?
Right. I just thought that was pretty. It was very informative about what the preparation process with him and his wife. Kathy, by the way they basically got him going, he had his feet in water, and she brought the oils out and so forth. I think we kind of touched on that a little bit last week, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. But it just show you that he had the mind to say, if I'm going to go meet my Creator, I need to go in a certain way. And I think that was really important to understand that. You just don't just say, okay, I'm finna go.
Right.
He took a bath, he cleansed himself. I think he had on a white robe, I believe, you know, and came with the herbs and stuff, the oils.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think as I guess setting up that part for where Patricia comes into the story once he got there to the Creator, then the Creator told him that basically Patricia was gathered. That's not what they called it though, was it? It was I can't remember what he called it, but basically that's what her soul could do
right.
bring forth another give forth an assignment to another right to a specific soul. And so she had this very powerful gift, you know.
Right,
and so that may
That
have
she-
something to do with, you know, us seeing later on why this creature, this energy is in this little small town. It may have something to do with
that's going to take us
Right.
into that thing. So let's move on, because the part that was really amazing, that it kind of reminded me of, you know, the swashbuckling that you will see in the movie Thor. Is chapter 10, is when we deal with the hunt, and we see you're really kind of picking up where the old man's history comes from.
Right.
You're now beginning to understand the mystery of the old man.
Right.
He's this. We see these two angels, what they call Anshar and Roder, and they are gatherers, angels. As a matter of fact, we run into many different kinds of angels in this particular section between chapters 10, 11, and 12.
Yes.
You have gathering angels. You have archangels.
Right.
You have seraphim, cherubim. These type of angels identified. So you see different angels playing different roles, and not all the angels are on the same, have the same purpose or on the same celestial level. Okay,
Right.
and so let me just say something about this. So you have the archangels, like I think we see one is called Ramiel, who was the keeper of the actor's record. Obviously, you have Michael, the demiurge. You have Lucifer. It's mentioned in this.
Right.
And Lucifer had a particular problem
Right.
with the Creator.
Right.
And the problem was what?
The problem with Lucifer was that he did not think humans were worthy of having free will and the ability to be able to have those potential powers that, you know, other beings had to work lifetimes to achieve.
Yeah, millions of years.
Yeah. And apparently humans, us have the ability to just jump out, you know.
Yeah, but
with
we
it.
waste it. See, he sees us as being people who don't take advantage of the potential of what free will means.
Right.
That made me think about the first question when we thought about was a reincarnation, and I was like, you know, that thought. I guess when I started understanding more about the soul, reincarnation meant more to me then.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And it let you know like how much time do we really waste on Earth not developing our soul? Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you kind of see like what Lucifer was saying. You know, they ain't really.
Yeah, I agree with one. I did.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, wait.
You know, Lucifer might have a point. You know,
Watch out now.
It
Lucifer got a point.
Lucifer got a point, man.
At the visit, you say, boy, I like you.
No.
Come over to my side.
Join me.
But but you know, it will let you see that okay, you know, we do kind of take that part of our life carelessly. Yeah. So just kind
Well,
of.
you know, the question I wanted to ask tonight is, what is so special about free will that we waste, as you say, that made Lucifer so mad at the Creator for giving us free will? And we're such, and from his standpoint, low-level creations.
Well, I think one thing was go back and look at, like you said, the different levels of angels. Then with them, they have an assignment. You are a gatherer. You are a sentry. You are this. You are that. As far as from my understanding with human souls, several of us have several different types of gifts that we have.
Mm-hmm.
And the ability to evolve and extend those gifts to, include not only healing, but, some of these other things that these other, angels could only do just this one thing for billions of years.
Right.
We have the ability to do many of these things.
Right.
Yeah, we are made in the image and likeness of the Creator with just a tremendous amount of potential.
Right.
And because we talk about the nature of the soul, and I think Dr. Gibson puts in there some teachings about the soul. The soul is a gem-like structure that has 617 facets.
Right.
And each one of those facets contain 5 components: spiritual name, the nomen, the actus, the prima, and words of power. And so and you imagine you got those 5 components magnified by 617 facets.
Right.
Our potential is, like you say one more time, off the hook.
Off the hook, yeah.
And off the chain.
Yeah.
And yet here we have this free will, and we choose to watch Sanford and Son with it. You know what I'm saying? We choose to do some of the most crazy things with it. And I guess the angels say, you guys don't know.
You guys don't know what you have.
What you got.
Right.
And so Lucifer decided, I tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna tempt y'all and just become a roadblock to you.
Right.
And it seems like in this story here, like the Creator really grieved losing Lucifer because he was a twin flame of Michael.
Right.
Have you ever heard that before?
No. When I read this book, the first time.
Yeah, that is taught in a lot of religious schools as well. Yeah. But anyway, let's go into the whole battle scene that happened between Anshar and Roder, and what was this demon or this evil being? I think his name was what was his name?
Garatham.
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 Yeah.
And so they are basically Ansar and Anshar and Roder had gotten the soul of this king. I think his name is a righteous king. I think his name is Kildarian or something like that. And so they had gotten it, and they were about to try to get back to deliver it where they tried to go.
Right.
And before they knew it, they were surrounded by hordes of these Keiko demons.
Right.
And Garatham.
Right.
And the symphony was mentioned because that was a means by which the angels are restored.
Right.
Anybody want to say something about that? Anything you remember about that?
It was in what Ansar was listening to on the rock when he was taking in the sunlight, and he gave Melvina the energy.
Yeah.
And she could hear a little bit of it.
Yeah.
While he was taking it in, she was able to hear a little bit of it.
Right, but the forces of evil put some type of screen up to block it.
So they couldn't hear it.
Yeah, they could not hear it.
Right. I think the interesting thing about this part of it, the interesting part that was brought up, like we just got through talking about a minute ago, about how human souls can evolve and, reach a certain level in the higher realms. And apparently you can evolve and reach a certain level in the lower realms also, because they talked about the fact that, Garatham was like a human soul that devolved, that went in, to the lower realm and took over, took over the lower realm from the demons.
That's right. As a matter of fact, he was a warrior in a human life.
Right.
And when he was killed or when he died some kind of way in battle, his soldiers killed themselves to join him, and he took over the underworld and became very powerful. And so they want to take a soul. Now, did anybody remember why what value does the underworld have for capturing a soul? Did it mention anything about that? Why is that so important to them?
It says that they used them as they could sell them for profit on the astral slave market. Sell the souls for profit on that.
Hey, don't you sometimes just wonder, say, Dr. Gibson gotta have an active imagination.
Yeah.
Or he must know something.
That's pretty.
I mean, because where do you come up with ideas like that?
Yeah.
My thought when I read that was like how similar, the activities that are taking place in the spiritual world are to the things that, again, like we talked about last week, that happen in this world. Like people are being, kidnapped and sold on, in human trafficking.
Right.
Now, go ahead.
People are still taking souls.
Well, yeah, I was just gonna say. I mean, like I was saying earlier, we always say stuff like, that person sold his soul, or they selling their soul to the devil, or he sold his soul out. You see what I'm saying? So we really make references to that. What's being said in the book all the time.
All the time.
Right.
Yeah.
And don't really know.
And don't really realize, well, how can you sell a soul?
Yeah.
Right. And your souls are being sold on the underground market.
Right. I mean, that's.
And then Garatham gave Anshar and Roder the opportunity. He told them, if you give me this soul that you have with you, I'll take it and let you come and serve me.
Right.
Instead of killing you. You
Now,
come serve me.
The reason why I mentioned this about
the devil.
The reason why I mentioned this in the beginning about Thor: The Dark World, because this is exactly what is going on in. Well, I'm not going to tell you because but it actually talks about this conflict between the world of light, which is Odin and Thor, and this world of the dark world, the darkness, and everything. That's why I would encourage everybody to go and watch that movie, read this book, because apparently there's some information that we don't have in our normal conversations about the celestial world and the lower worlds and our world that that we really need to know. The Bible does talk about a war in heaven.
Right.
There's a war in heaven between Michael and his angels and the dragon and his angel. And so this reveals some things, that there's this dark world. And Rodar and Anshar got caught up in this, and they had these weapons. They had this spear. They had this double sword. They had this angelic mace. They had these tools, and they had to fight these demons who were coming at them like, like hornets, like droves, coming at them real bad. And in the midst of that battle, which was so intense, and these are two of the most powerful gatherers, and just let you know that the word gatherer is used in the Bible about angels. So anyway, just want you to know that. Okay. But in the midst of this battle, something happened to Anshar.
Yes.
What happened?
All right. So as they're fighting, I guess they probably, since they knew it was almost time for the symphony to start, they could, feel kind of a yearning for it anyway. And so as they got ready to go into the battle, I guess there was some lack of energy or weakness there a little bit anyway, from just having to travel and go and get the soul and carrying it to however high they were traveling with it. But as they were in this fight, the amount of energy that they were expelling, then Anshar started to weaken, lost use of his wings, and as the battle ended, he basically, I guess, started to collapse.
Right.
It's like a transformation was being made, was happening as he was fighting. He was definitely. It kind of reminded me of when you're doing Reiki or something, and you mess with somebody that may have a sickness or something, and after a while, if you're not protected, you yourself can get sick while you fighting.
Now, I think that needs to be said again.
The battle, and so That's what I thought about when I read that.
That's exactly what I thought.
Yeah.
I thought about the fact that, there are people who are healers.
Yeah.
And when they heal you, many times they use some of their own essence.
Right. Right. That's what I thought
heal
about.
you.
Right.
And you wonder, well, if this person can heal, how did they get sick?
How did they get sick? That's right.
And they end up dying.
Taking on it. Yeah.
A transference occurs.
Right.
In other words, the more you battle evil,
Mm-hmm.
the more you battle evil, even if you win, there's something that you lose.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Now, for angels, this weakens them, and they get sick, even though they may not necessarily die like us as soon as us.
Right.
But for us, this being in this battle, in this domain, being in this world, this third dimension, like it is, death and disease and decay
Yeah.
is a part of the price we pay. Just for being here. And the more we fight, and the more we duel, and the more we struggle, we end up eventually succumbing to the very thing that we are fighting against. Which is the motivation of why you got to evolve your soul,
Right.
to rise above this. Because the soul has some choices. Either your soul has to come back and do it again, and go through the process of birth and death, or your soul has to rise to the next celestial world.
Mm-hmm.
Death and disease and decay exist at the fourth dimension, third dimension down.
Mm-hmm.
So our goal is that we have to get our soul and develop our consciousness to the level of at least the fifth dimension and above. We talk about 9 dimensions, but there are more.
Right.
But apparently these angels themselves have great bodies. I mean, it said that Anshar and Rodar were like 13 and 15 feet long, had a 50 and 60 inch wingspan.
50 and 60 foot.
50 and 60 foot wingspan. But in this battle, Anshar has fought so many battles that he now was contaminated.
Right. And then too, in this one, I think they did something apparently that was new by taking the demons into them.
A vortex,
They made a vortex and took them into them.
Right.
And
did you notice that they use words of power?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep, absolutely. And another thing about it, it said that every time that they used those words of powers of that level, that it took some of their essence away from them too, which could be restored by the symphony, but they had to get to it.
Right. And the Garathium, the enemy that they were fighting, he actually had a bounty on him, or somebody else trying to gather him, arrest him because he was stealing souls.
Right.
And so, but he got caught up in it. But the whole process of that, like you said, drained. It took Anshar to a certain level whereby he could not recover.
Right.
And apparently, Rodar and Anshar had been battling for billions of years.
Right. It said billions of years.
And he saw the transformation take place in his buddy Angel. And so they had to go and find help from the Archangel, Raphael.
Yeah.
And this is where we encounter the word first darkness.
Right.
What is the first darkness? If you don't mind, if y'all can get the books, you guys can look on page 110 and in the book.
A disease.
Go ahead. You want to read that?
Okay. It is a disease that has roots in the basic fabric of our universe.
Okay. Anybody got an idea of what that means? That the first darkness is actually it is located within the very nature of the fabric of the universe. It is built into the fabric of the universe.
Right. Right. It makes
The first darkness. The first darkness is built in the very fabric of the construction of this particular universe. What do you think that's mean? What do you think that means?
That when the light was created, so was the darkness.
Yeah.
When the good is the balance. That's what they explained it as in the chapter. It was the balance. As the good was created, so was this evil that balanced it out. As you teeter back and forth with the things that you do and the experiences that you had in your life.
Now I'm gonna put a little pressure on y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Why would a creator create a world with that component built into the very nature? You will say it's built with a flaw.
Right.
It's built, if you can call it a flaw, it's built with a flaw. In other words, the darkness is built into the system.
Right.
What do you think the reason? Why do you think that? People ask the question all the time. If God is good and God is love and God is all powerful, then why is there death, disease, decay, destruction in the world? Why do things fall down?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why do things break down? Why do people who do good die young?
Yeah, for good, yeah.
Why do the innocent suffer?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever wondered about that? Have you ever questioned, say,
What's going on?
yeah, what's going on? Why is that in the world? Here's this angel. I literally, when I read this the second time, I literally kind of felt sorry for this angel, Anshar.
Mm-hmm.
He has been fighting and doing his job.
Right.
He was made this way.
Right.
He's a gatherer of souls. He has been fighting and doing the will of God his whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Billions of years.
Okay.
And yet the very work that he was created to do comes with it sickness that's going to actually compromise his job that he loves to do. He freely loved to give his life in service of the Creator. And yet the Creator, without trying to explain it, I'm going to jump ahead of myself, but without trying to explain it, created a world whereby the very thing he was created to do would also be the means by which he would get sick, the first darkness. It's the very nature of the universe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
May not be able to answer that right now, but just put that in the back of your head, because I think ultimately this leads us to the question of trying to understand the thought and the mind of the Creator, why you build a world that allows darkness to exist. You begin to wonder then from the standpoint of Lucifer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you didn't give these people free will or had made them work, maybe you wouldn't have had this problem. But apparently the Creator has a different idea in mind that many of the creation don't understand.
Right.
But anyway, get to that. What does Raphael do for Anshar?
He does this kind of ritual over him.
Go ahead.
Well, one of the things that we do see is that he performs, he tries to restore him
Right.
the best he could, but ultimately he had to tell him that this is not something you're going to recover from.
Right.
That he is basically destined to get old,
Mm-hmm.
and ultimately go mad.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right. And so they want an explanation then, which made me think about us as human beings so many times. As soon as something happens, then we're like, why, God? Why are you doing this to me? I've been, faithful to you. I go to church, and I've been a good mama, and I've been good on my job and all this kind of stuff. Why do I deserve this? Why can't you save me? Why can't you fix this? You God, you can fix it.
That's exactly what you know, he did. The symphony couldn't help him. Nothing could happen. This was like his destiny. And as a matter of fact, Raphael says that there's some things that even I can't answer. You're going to go to the boss man to get let him answer that for you. And so they do go to the Creator, and the Creator tells Anshar an idea of what he can do to come back. You might want to share that idea. What did the Creator say to him in terms of what is the potential remedy for him to overcome the first darkness?
No, he tells him that he can either come back into the human world and have the opportunity to evolve to a level of immortality, or he can go crazy and die. That's it. He told him he'd give him, you know, you have a certain number of years that
10,000 years.
10,000 years,
right?
That you can get to this level, perform this certain task that I give you, and which was
bringing.
As a matter of fact, as Rodaire is hearing all this, what is Rodaire thinking?
Yeah, that was my thing. I was like, of course, Rodaire is thinking, because he tells Anshar, you cannot gather these souls.
Right.
And he tells Rodaire, and Rodaire is also thinking at the same time, well, I need to listen to this because the same thing's going to happen to me. So what am I going to do? Right. But the choice he gives Rodaire is to just go to another realm, live out your life as an immortal. You served me well. This hadn't hit you yet. I'm going to reward you. You just go live somewhere else in peace.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Rodaire's option. Rodaire hadn't become infected by the first darkness yet.
Right.
His solution was, again, is to, what did you say, Shelley?
To allow him to go to live on another realm.
Yeah.
And
stop fighting.
As an immortal. Right. Go live in peace. And
when I read that part, I could hear, well, I think I'm hearing Dr. Gibson say about our attachment to suffering. And how many times we are so committed toward, you know, doing our jobs, so committed toward trying to save the world, trying to do this stuff, that we don't really take time to enjoy ourselves. What he's told Rodaire is, chill out.
Yeah.
Go enjoy yourself.
Right.
Yeah, stop fighting.
Stop fighting.
And the difficulty that, you know, Rodaire is going to face with it, you know, that even as you put it in that point that Anshar has faced, you've been alive for billions of years, probably hundreds of billions of years.
Yeah.
How long do you want to live? What else is it that you want to do? You know, you have an opportunity. You can just, you know, say, you know,
I'm done.
I'm out. It's been good. Let me go and become one with the Creator and just enjoy this bliss.
Now, which would you do? What would you do? I mean, because we really stay at stuff sometimes, you know, too long. We fall in love with our jobs, fall in love with the routine. And the more you do it, eventually you're gonna succumb to it.
Right.
Right.
It's gonna make you sick.
Yeah. When I read this story, remember I read it, and I'm sitting here and I'm listening to y'all have the discussion about it. The first thing that came to my mind then, and the first thing that comes to my mind as I'm listening to it, is humanity. And then you ask the question, what is first darkness? It's humanity. We come here for a purpose, a specific purpose. We live it out, regardless of how many times it takes for us to get it, whether we're reincarnated once, 1,000 years, 10,000 years. We come here, we live it out with the purpose of reaching enlightenment. We have a choice once we get to that point, whether we want to come back or if we want to live in perfect peace. From what I understand, we all come back. We have a choice if we want to come back or not. Some choose to come back because who wants to just live in perfect peace? It's like that's not enough. It's like, you know, what's the sense of it? It's like they have more sense of coming back, living this world.
Right. Which
humanity.
Yes.
You see, it's what drives us.
Right.
You start over again. You get to a certain point, you start over. You get to a certain point, you start over.
And why would you want to do that all the time? Why would you want to do that?
Well,
I don't know.
You know, it's to
Choice.
me. Yeah.
Yeah, but why would you make that choice?
I don't know.
I mean, the point is, you know, are you really going to stop the first darkness?
Right.
Are you really going to stop the very nature of how the universe is made?
That's what you're hearing. That's that's Roder's problem.
Well, yeah, I do. I think it's the ties that bind you. You know, is you know what is ultimately pulling people back in is the little promises, right? And the little promises you made. I'm not gonna ever leave you. I'm gonna be with you forever, and I'm gonna do this forever, and all that kind of stuff. Not realizing.
Roder, I was saying, Roder, I mean, you got to imagine they've been fighting battles for billions of years, and he had an emotional connection to Anshaw,
right?
And he stated it.
They couldn't have family.
Right,
that was his family.
That was his family, and we talking about angels,
right?
Having that type of a relationship with one another.
Yeah.
And I just started. I was thinking like as far as the first darkness, if the creator created the world with a flaw, or with a blemish or whatever, I mean that's like the beginning steps of a soul trying to, or I guess I say the same path of a soul saying that, you know what, I'm gonna come back or to try to get it right again, because the soul recognizes that it's almost like, well, I didn't fulfill it. There is a blemish here. I didn't take care of this, so I got to continue to try to evolve.
But there is a realm whereby a possibility where you can become immortal,
right?
And you don't have to be sick, and you don't have to suffer, and you don't have to war, and you don't have to die.
Back to earth.
That's right.
You don't have to go
And my
there.
point is that
right now.
in all your effort to save souls, to teach ignorant people, to try to make wrong right, and all that kind of stuff, the bottom line is the nature of the universe, at least the domain in which we live in, it is what it is.
Right. And in that aspect, you asked the question, I would take door number 2 with Roder. I'm not binding time myself to depend on somebody else to help me out to get to the point of evolution, where I can.
Right.
You make it if you
giving me
can.
an out. You giving me an out, telling me I can go live in perfect peace. Let's go.
I've served my time. I've showed my dedication.
Sit
help
me up
humanity.
in the penthouse.
You know what? It's time to go to the beach.
Yeah.
It's time to enjoy myself.
That's right.
I'm out.
I worked for a billion years. Yeah, I can take that retirement.
Yeah.
That'll work.
See you, wouldn't want to be you. Good luck. But anyway, but for Anshaw, he has to devolve.
Mm-hmm.
And his key is that he has to go and find souls, but he can't get them himself. He has to live in a certain state and get someone else to go into the human world and get souls. Right. So now we understand who Melvina is and her relationship to Anshaw.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, with that, we'll stop and we'll come back again next week and we'll pick up chapters 14 I think it is, to, 21? Okay, we do chapters 14 through 21 next week. All right, so hope you all enjoyed that discussion. Go see Thor: The Dark World. Continue to read this book along with us, and expand your mind into higher reality. Thank you, Dr. Gibson, for writing such a very profound book that expands our consciousness. And we'll talk to you again. We'll talk to all of you again next week. Please feel free to write us and comment. Go to our website, friendsofgebc@gmail.com. That's our new book club email address, friendsofgebc@gmail.com, and we'll get back with you again next week. Have a good weekend, a good week. See you next week.
All right.
Okay.